start our presentation. So again, welcome to our webinar. This is a webinar arranged by Elias Consulting, collaborating with students from the Wageningen University. We are from the ACT team, which for the past 2 months has looked into a problems that Elias Consulting brings to us. So I will go right away to our presentations. But first of all, I would like to remind all of our audience that at the end we will have a questions and answer session. So during that time, you will have a chance uh, to ask your questions. But of course, you can also have questions and just write it in the chat box. Start from now, and that will be okay as well. At the end, we will classify each questions according to the topics, and we will answer each questions if it's allowed by time. So let me introduce myself. My name is Dimas Handi Putranto. I'm the manager of the ACT team of this project. We are consist of 7 people. First is Dan Saibrandi as our secretary, and then Yitno as our controller, and then Rob, Tom, Mingsin, and Paul from as our members. So 4 of us comes from an aquaculture background, a master students at aquaculture, and then 2 of us has a plant sciences background, including myself, and 1 of us has a background at bioinformatics. So this webinar will be about the topic will be about using food waste as fish feed for aquaponic systems. So we basically try to see whether it is feasible for us to use food waste as a source of fish feed. And then we aim this webinar for food and agribusinesses. So as mentioned in the invitation, from this presentation, we hope that you can see an opportunity to use your food waste that is currently unused to have an economical value. And as what I said, it is organized by Elias Consulting and students from the university. So for this webinar, we have 5 main parts. I have started with the introduction, and then my colleague will start with research questions and then the knowledge platform. And then the next presenter will present about the assessment tool, and the last presenter will present about discussion. At the end, we will have a questions and answer sessions. And yeah, like I said, you can write your question right away. Start from now if you have any questions, and then we will answer it at the end. So let's start with an introduction. First, we start this project from seeing problems of food waste. I think Elias Consulting first look into these problems, and also they look these problems also as an opportunities. So in the world, 1/3 of food produced is wasted, which is a lot. And then why not we use this food waste to become a thing that have an economical value, for instance, fish feed. Because according to a research from EPA, food waste can be used to be many other things. For instance, feed animals. So as you see in the slides, food waste can be diverted into an animal feed, and one of them is a fish feed. And for this project, we specifically look into an aquaponics. Why? Because it has both advantages for farmers and also for food producers. For farmers, it can increase the value of their sustainability. And also by using food waste, the fish feed would be cheaper. While for the food producers, like I said previously, you now have an opportunity to sell your food waste as a fish feed, which is also a good thing. But what is aquaponics? My colleagues, Paul, will explain what is aquaponics to you.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Paul, and I'm going to introduce you to aquaponics. I will give you a short, brief overview about what aquaponics is. So, as you can see in the picture, aquaponics is actually made. Also, the word aquaponics is made of two words. It's hydroponics and aquaculture combined as aquaponics. What and the way it basically works is we are feeding the fish. The fish is enriching the water with nutrients. Then this water flows to our hydroponic section. There, the plants take up the nutrients, grow, and clean up the water. And then the clean water flows back to the fish again. But these systems, after decades of research, can be way more complex than it's depicted here in that slide. Just to give you a short, brief overview of what aquaponics is. So our project is based on the main question: is it feasible to compose the tilapia diet using agricultural food waste instead of a conventional feed? So to clarify this a little bit more into detail, we came up with three sub-questions. They are which and in what quantities can this food waste be used for a tilapia diet? In terms, of course, is it feasible to make a feed for fish from food waste? And can the concept of using food waste contribute to a circular value chain? For that, we started out our project with creating a knowledge platform to create kind of a common ground so that everybody's on the same page and know what we are talking about. The overall goal is to determine the feasibility of using food waste as a fish feed. In the knowledge platform, we are diving into a circular value chain. We're looking at technical aspects and nutritional aspects and processing requirements, to have a look at legalities, and of course on general costs. The outcome is like an overview about possibilities to use food waste as a fish feed resource. So let's have a closer look at it. Let's start with the circular value chain. So if we assume we are a farmer, for example, we farm rice in India, we bring this rice to the food processor company, and doing this processing of food, we bring the final product to the consumer, pure rice, and the food processor has, for example, rice bran left. So this rice bran can then be used as a fish feed resource, and that gets collected from the food waste collector, like in distributing or logistic company, and then it comes to the farm directly or to a waste converter or to a fish feed producer. So because some of the waste may have to be treated before it can be used as a fish feed. So in that way, we are increasing the sustainability of our circular value chain, because the distance between waste producer and fish farmer is shorter. But unfortunately, not all waste can be used. So some of the waste is unusable for a fish diet. So let's go over to the technical issues and nutritional aspects of using food waste for a fish diet. In our case, we choose tilapia as an example species because tilapia can handle a wide range of feed ingredients. This is due to a long intestinal tract and a very low pH. And tilapia is also capable and digest plant ingredients. And a lot of food waste is originating from plants. But the drawback of using plants is that these plants include or have content of anti-nutritional factors that can be things like saponins, tannins, phytates, and many more, as they are mentioned in our report. And these anti-nutritional factors lower, for example, the digestibility of the feed, or they lower the performance of the fish. So the fish grows slower because of this. These anti-nutritional factors, they can get lowered by treatment. That can be a water extraction or gentle heat treatment, or fermentation might be needed to lower the amount of anti-nutritional factors and to increase the inclusion level of these food wastes. But finally, we recommend to make a final analysis of the pellet, because some of the nutritional values of the feed might change due to processing and storage. So if we now go over to the legalities, using food waste as an animal food resource or feed resource is regulated by European law, and not all waste can be used. For example, solid urban waste or household waste is forbidden to use for feed ingredient for animals. And since the BSE crisis, so the mad cow disease, a couple of decades ago, proteins from ruminants are also not legal to use anymore. The same accounts for cultured fish. So you cannot feed salmon waste to salmon back again. You could potentially feed salmon to, for example, catfish, but therefore the processors have to be very clean about their storage and their handling of the fish waste. And another example is all waste obtained from various phases of the urban and domestic and industrial wastewater is also not allowed to use in, as a feed element for animals. And if you want to use food waste, you really need a very transparent supply chain. So if the authorities come and check your company, you need to clarify, okay, my food waste comes from this company in this amount at that time, and so on and so on. And of course, a final analysis of contaminants of the food waste is needed to avoid like persistent organic pollutants, heavy metals, or other contaminants that are hazardous to the fish. Let's have a look on the economic aspects. Well, there are cost factors, as you can see here on the left side of the slide, that are included in using food waste as a fish feed resource. Of course, the waste itself may cost money, the transportation to your farm or to your processing plant, the pellet processing. You may have to store the waste for a couple of days. So that all creates costs. But we also have revenues. For example, we may get money from the waste producer to take the waste. We can sell our fish and vegetables. And we also could potentially sell our pellets, because you can claim, hey, our fish feed pellets made of food waste are more sustainable, and here we have an alternative feed for other farmers as well. So we came up with a solution using a food waste based on using a food waste diet based on agro-industrial food waste lead to a cheaper feed for fish. However, that is really taste dependent. For example, a salmon has very different needs, nutritional needs, than a tilapia has. But how can we now compose a real fish feed out of all this food waste? Therefore, we came up with a solution to create kind of an assessment tool to create a food waste recipe with the lowest cost without neglecting all the constraints and nutritional needs for fish. And this tool is explained by one of my colleagues, Dan.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Dan, and I'm going to tell you something about the assessment tool that we created. So the assessment tool is built for fish farmers so that they can compose a good quality fish feed entirely based on waste streams. It is built in Microsoft Excel, and it just requires 3 steps to come up to the good quality recipe for your fish. The first step is inputting waste stream data. So all the nutritional values of nutrients and possible costs of transporting or labor costs that are involved with processing the waste streams should be inserted there. Secondly, one needs to insert certain constraints, so legalities or nutritional requirements of fish. And if that has been done, then the final diet can be calculated based on these constraints, based on these waste streams. So right now we're going to look into each step more closely. So here in this data sheet, one can see every row represents all the data available of one waste stream. So as you can see here, this example is water, and right here are some possible costs of this waste stream, and all the way to the right until the end of this page, there are the nutritional values. So if one has inserted a certain waste stream, one has to select yes in the second column. This is very important because this tells the program to include this waste stream into the calculation of the final diet. So for step 2, it's the same. There are already by default 150 constraints added there. And if one wants to select a constraint, also insert yes in the second column. If one wants to insert an extra constraint to meet specific needs of fish or a new legality, then always add it at the bottom of this list. So if those constraints and waste streams are all selected and staged for the final calculation, the user has to click the refresh button, and in that way all the constraints and waste streams are selected and the final calculation can be performed. And if the calculation is successfully calculated, here in the green box one can see the inclusion levels of every waste stream in percentages that are included in the final diet. And if the calculation is successful, these are the inclusion levels, and over here you can see the costs, and the total cost for 100 kilograms of feed will be shown right here. And this fish feed will meet the nutritional needs of the fish and will also be conform all the legalities and other issues that are set by the constraints. Down below in the yellow box, one can see what the actual nutrient values are in the final diet. So that is just to get an impression of how does this feed is how the feed is composed in terms of nutrients. So now my colleague will discuss our further project. So I will give the floor to him.
Hello everyone, I'm Tom and I will now go on with the discussion. For the discussion we have made two SWOT analyses where we look further into the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats of our assessment tool and the use of food waste as fish feed, as we have discovered in our knowledge platform. Further, I will discuss the future possibilities of our tool and the use of knowledge of feed based on food waste. So the first SWOT analysis about the assessment tool. Here we see the strengths and weaknesses. We discovered that our tool, well, we've made our tool in such a way that it is completely customizable. As Dana said, you can fill in the costs and legalities of your own region, and you can even change the constraints in such a way that instead of it being for tilapia, the feed is made for a completely different species. This makes it applicable for everyone and everywhere. Further, however, we discovered some weaknesses as well, namely that our tool requires manual inputs, and with all these constraints, it can be quite long and tedious work. Further, we did not include proof for the sustainability of using food waste as fish feed. We know that it is likely more sustainable. However, the tool does not describe the CO2 footprint, so we cannot prove it. The opportunities for the assessment tool are that it gives the user the opportunity to clearly see who needs to be included in his feed. So basically, he can easily identify the stakeholders for his feed, and this makes the circular value more likely to happen. As you need to first it's the step of identifying your stakeholders has then been done by the tool. Further, we see a movement from the government that companies are required to analyze their waste streams more. This will mean that it's also more available for us, and therefore the nutritional profiles of food waste will be easier acquired. However, the threat of this is that these analyses of food waste have not been done properly, or they did not include everything that we wanted to know. Therefore, the food that rolls out of the tool may not be completely correct as was predicted. Furthermore, when filling in the tool, one needs to realize that processing of the ingredient into a feed pellet will cause some changes in the nutritional profile of the feed. So one should implement the processed ingredients nutrient profile and not the normal, not the raw ingredient profile. Now on to the discussion of food waste as fish feed. Well, during our research of the knowledge platform, we found that the strength of using food waste is that it saves energy, water, and land that would have normally been used to produce conventional feed ingredients. Now, because of using the food waste, you save all this, and yeah, it's quite sustainable. Further, it gives the farmer an independency from one food source. Before the food source was of course only coming from the feed producer, but now because the farmer can produce the feed himself, he has many different choices for ingredients and many different options if one should fall out. Further, as discussed by Paul, profits are possible as long as there's not much processing required and it's close by. But that is compared to the conventional feed definitely the case, because conventional feeds ingredients are often coming from all around the world, while food waste is produced locally. A weakness, however, is that the processing required to make food waste into a feed pellet requires a high initial investment for the machines needed. Furthermore, if the nutrient profiles were incorrect, then there is a health risk for the fish that they may not grow as fast as could be. The opportunity, however, for sustainability is that the food waste that is created by the producer is no longer being thrown away. So they will gain a view from the eyes of the consumer that they are more sustainable, and that's something consumers are very aware of nowadays. So that's quite important. Further, farmers will no longer use fish from the oceans, nor soya beans that require the cutting of rainforests. So yeah, it's also much more sustainable for them in that way. Another opportunity is that there are many stakeholders, as said. There's food waste is produced everywhere, so easy to find. The threats, however, are that for now, although for now the laws are made, the laws about food waste are mostly the same as the laws based on normal feed ingredients. However, due to the increasing use of food waste, also stimulated by the European Union, this health issues might arise, which require law changes. And so food waste that is legal now might not be legal in the future. However, as said, for now, they are actually stimulating it. This also has the threat that the food waste will gain demand, meaning that the prices will go up for food waste, and then will it stay competitive with normal feed ingredients? That is something the future will tell. For our future possibilities that we identified for the use of our tool and the use of food waste as fish feed is that okay, sorry, we had some connection issues. Luckily, I did not say much yet about the future possibilities, but so I can continue immediately. So as said, our tool does not implement the sustainability part that well. So we would have liked to implement a CO2 footprint calculation as well to really prove that food waste is more sustainable than conventional. Further, we would have liked to more implement the costs, because now we have the costs in quite general terms, but yeah, of course, costs that they are made up of very many factors, and these should, yeah, these would be nice to also be included in the tool. Next, we use Excel, which is good in one way that everyone knows how to use it. However, if we had used our own if we had made our own standalone assessment program, we would have created the opportunity to make a database that would then be managed by Elias Consulting, and where all nutritional profiles of all food waste ingredients would be stored, yeah, concentrated, and every user of the tool could just access that instead of having to create its own list. Next, we would have also liked to, of course, test feeds that came out of our tool. However, due to time and money, and well, really, it's just so much research that we could not do that. Further, also the trial run to see if it's economic, if it really is stable like we predict, we could also not do, of course. But it would be nice for the future. And then lastly, we would have liked to also look into other feed alternatives, namely of insects and worms, because food waste that is unsorted cannot be used for fish, but might be used for them, and then the worms and insects could have been used also for fish. To conclude, well, we need to answer the question: is it feasible to compose a tilapia diet using agricultural food waste instead of conventional feed? For that, we need to answer the sub-questions. Was it technically possible to create a food waste 100% food waste in, diet? And we see that yes, it is possible, because food waste can provide the right nutritional profiles for that the fish needs. Furthermore, our tool is able to compose such a diet. As for the cost, yes, again, it is cheaper than conventional feed, when taking into account that the processing should not be much, and travel distance shouldn't be either. But yeah, that's likely to work because food waste is produced everywhere. Then, does it stimulate a circular value chain? Yes, it does, because it stimulates it stimulates the circular value chain, because both the food waste producer and the farmer profit from it. Namely, they both gain a more sustainable view in the eyes of the consumer, and they both lower their costs on ingredients for the farmer, and getting rid of waste for the producer. So, is it feasible to compose a tilapia diet based on food waste? Yes, it is feasible on both a legal, technical, and profit level. Thank you for attending this presentation. If there are any questions, then we will, of course, answer these shortly. And also, but first, our commissioner wants to say something, and I will now give the floor to him.
Yes, thank you very much, all the presenters who presented before. And yeah, as a commissioner, I would like to thank all the students here who've done the research, and who've proved that it is attainable, to make a circular value chain. So, and it all started with an idea of us as consultants. Could we do something with circular economy? And this proves that it is possible, and it's also it might be cost effective. So it's like the students and researchers always say, there's more research needed. What I like to ask you is maybe you could provide us with more data to validate our tool, and maybe if you want to work with us, if you have a waste stream and you want to test if it's more cost effective to feed it. I can say that it is. It's also a nice thing if you contribute to sustainability, and it's also good to work with partners and to collaborate together. so that yeah, we do it in the end for society, that you could maybe from this case eat your fish in a sustainable way in that nice little restaurant besides the aquaponics farm where the fish is grown. So having said that, I would like to give the floor back to the moderator for your questions. Thank you.
So right now I will be taking any questions, and the way we do it, I will specifically ask the person who has the most potential of answering a specific question to here. And the question, are there any questions right now? Yes. So we will wait 2 minutes or some moments, and then we see whether any questions come up. All right, so there is a question from Roy. He's wondering if something, he wants to ask something about the aquaponic system, and are there any aquaponic farms in practice? Are there already aquaponics farms in practice, and at what research level are they? So can companies send their waste somewhere? All right, this is a very good question, and I think Paul can answer that. All right.
Well, yes, there are already quite some aquaponics farms in Europe located. For example, there's one in Berlin, there's one in France, there's also one in Spain. So, and they are on the level like they're producing around 30 tons of fish, 25 to 30 tons of vegetables at the same time. For further information, please look at the Invapro homepage, like integrated multi-trophic, integrated aquaponics, things like that, something like that. If you Google Invapro, you will find definitely more information about it. If they want to try out food waste as a fish feed resource, is unclear for me now. I would say just contact them, get in contact with these aquaponics farms and researchers, and try to figure out how you can get connected with each other. Are there any further questions? Yes, there is one farm in Den Haag. It's on a rooftop, and it's built from the Urban Farmers. It's a Swiss-based company, and they're also growing tilapia. And I see we're getting another question. Well, yes. The first question that I got is it applicable for normal fish farms, not only aquaponics? Yes, I would say it is applicable. And the other question that I also got is it can be used by other companies as well, also for like pig nutrition, for example, because you can have freedom to change the constraints in the tool. So you can adapt your tool or our tool to different species as well. So question number 4, if I want to get in contact, should I reach out to Elias Consulting? How? I would say yes, please do. Look up for eliasconsulting.nl and you will find the internet presence, and I think they are more than happy to get in contact with you. So, yes. Okay, I see another question. Can waste producers use the tool in some way. Second, maybe. Yeah, you want to say something? Well, another colleague of mine will contribute to the answering the questions.
Okay, sorry. Yes, so the question, can the tool also be used by other companies instead of only aquaponics farmers? Of course, as said, the tool is created in such a way that it's completely customizable. In theory, it can even be used for pigs or cows. However, that it does require some adjustments then. But yeah, because the tool is completely customizable, it should in theory be possible as well. Further, this tool might also actually be interesting for the conventional feed producers instead of just the farmers, because they already, of course, produce the feed, so they have the machines, and they might be interested to produce a more sustainable feed as well. And then let's see, there's another question. Okay. So the question is, can a waste producer beforehand see if his nutritional value is correct to be used as a feed? Well, the tool shows the constraints. Here he can, so yeah, the food waste producer would be able to see which constraints the tool accounts for, and these would then and then he would be able to know if he has that data or not, and he would be able to know which data to gather. Anything else? Oh yeah, okay. So not a question. Can the tool also give not possible solutions? And how do I cope with this? I think it is possible that indeed of course it's possible that sometimes even with all your food waste, it is not possible to create to give a good feed. However, the tool allows the user to play with the selected ingredients. This way, he can try to fit it to make a better food inclusion after all. So basically because the tool allows to be played with, it is possible to give solutions eventually, even if the first solution is not correct. I think I will now also elaborate a bit more on another question. So a question can also as well, it's been asked, is to elaborate a bit more on how the costs, how the profitability has been calculated. Well, for that we used an example farm, and we took a look at the conventional feed ingredients. So we noticed that the conventional feed ingredients cost around 12 cents to 30 cents per kilogram. However, our example farm was able to get food waste ingredients for free. So of course that is not possible for all farms. However, we expect that food waste will not go above the price of the normal feed ingredients. So based on that, we calculated the normal food. We took the normal feed ingredient price, the normal feed price, I mean, and then we subtracted the feed ingredient costs as well as the travel distance, because as said, the travel is normally all the way from Brazil, while now it's around the 50 kilometer, around 50 kilometer zone. So these factors really are able to reduce the cost of the feed. And then we saw that our example farm would save money on this, and also that the initial investment was not actually as high as we would have expected. So it would actually be he would actually gain those that expenditure back quite quickly as well. Another question: what is the profit for different stakeholders? Is there only the financial profit for waste producers? Also, how can a government organization be a stakeholder in this circular value chain? Well, that's multiple questions, but I will try to answer them. So what's the profit for different stakeholders? Well, the food waste producer, he normally has costs for getting rid of his waste. However, now due to the farmer or feed producer taking the food waste away, I mean, he will no longer have these costs, because for the farmer, it's already cost effective to take it away for free or even pay a little bit for it. So yeah, for the food waste producer, it can also save him money. As for other stakeholders, it's a bit more difficult to say. I would say that, for instance, you might be able to give a better price for the fish that are cultured on food waste. So the retailer would in that case maybe be able to ask a higher price. However, aquaponics is already seen as more sustainable. So if the price would really increase, that remains to be seen. And the question: how can a governmental organization be a stakeholder in this circular value chain? Well, as said, the government has quite an interest in the use of food waste, because it's a big problem. As said, 1.3 billion tons of food waste is produced every year. This needs to be gotten rid of, and so they are a provider of money as well to the farmer in that way, but they are not really a direct stakeholder. They're more like an indirect stakeholder that gives subsidies and prevents laws to happen that or stimulates laws in such a way that food waste can be made better to use as food for animals. Thank you. Okay. I think I have one more question actually from okay, and that is what more can be done, of course, to make it circular. So to make the true circular value chain, we thought up that for the farmers to use the food waste, the fish farms use the food waste. As said, the fish cannot be used for feed again, as this is the law. However, it could then again be used as fertilizer for other farmers, which would in turn create the wheat needed for the food producer that we would get the food waste from. This way, you have a tiny circular value that would normally not be there. And I think that was the last question. Am I correct in saying that? Yes. Okay. Then I will thank you again for joining this presentation. And yeah, any questions that can be asked to Elias Consulting. And please, if you want to be involved, contact them, and you will hear from them shortly, I assume. Thank you.